Testing. Um, reading. Today's reading is a Hazardous Liquid Integrity Management Enforcement Guide, Section 195, 450, 452. Introduction. The materials contained in this document consist of the guidelines, technique, the procedures, other information for the internal use by the PHMSA Pipeline Safety Enforcement Staff. The guidelines document describe the practice by the PHMSA Pipeline Safety Investigator. Enforcement personally undertaken with the compliance inspection and enforcement activity of the Department of the document of the U.S. government property is to be used with conjunction with official duties. Federal pipeline safety regulations or Title 49 CFR 190 through 199 discussing the guidelines documenting legal binding requirement of the document is not regulation, creates no new legal obligation. Regulation is controlling the material of the document or explaining nature of the reflect of the PHMS current application that reflects and affect the time of the issuance of the guideline and preparing enforcement action alleging probable violation. Alleged allegation must also be based on failure to take a required action, take a prohibited action set forth directly with the language of regulation, and all regulations should never be drafted in a manner says the operator violated the guidelines. Nothing in the guidelines document intended to diminish otherwise the effect of the authority of the PHMS to carry out the statutory, regulatory, or other official function for the commitment of the PHMSA to take any action that is subject to the discretion. Nothing in the document is intended to or does not create a legal equitable right or benefit the substantive procedural enforcement at law by any person or organization against the PHMSA and personal with the state agency officer for the carrying out all programs authorized by federal law. The decision about the specific investigation enforcement case that made according to the specific fact of the circumstances at hand. Investigation compliant with the determinants other require careful legal and technical analysis of the complicated issues. Although the guidelines document over the reference of the staff responsible for the investigation enforcement, no set procedures or policies can replace the need for activity on ongoing consultation with the supervisor, colleagues, and official with the chief of the council of the enforcement matters. Comments and suggestions for future change addition for the guidelines documents are invited with the issue forward. The supervised material in the guidelines document may be modified or revoked without prior notice by the PHMSA management. Introduction, glossary, and that goes over section 159, 452, and we'll read 159, 452. You can get this at glossary terms. Please refer to the phmsa.got static files, PHMSA pipe, TQ glossary, HTML. Our enforcement guidance, Hazardous Liquid Integrity Management, Title 49 CFR 195, Revision Day 3/18/2013, Code Section 195.12a(b). What are the requirements applied to low-stress pipelines in rural area? Generally, the section set forth the requirements each for the category low-stress pipeline rural area set forth with the paragraph B of the section. Section does not apply with the rural stress pipeline regulated with it under this part as low stress pipeline with the crossway of the waterway control. Currently, you the commercial navigation of the pipelines are regulated with 195.1a. Category and operator with a rural low stress pipeline must meet the applicable requirements complying with the deadline for the category of the pipeline set forth in paragraph C of the section for the purpose of the section rural low stress pipeline in category 1, 2, 3 or pipeline based on the following criteria. Category 1 rural low stress pipeline has a nominal diameter of 8 5/8 of an inches or more, located within 1/2 mile of the unusual sensitive the area as defined in 195.6 and operates at the maximum pressure established in 195. 406 corresponding to a stress level equal to less than 20% of the specified minimum yielded strength of the line of the pipe. If the stress is unknown with the pipe not constructed with the seal pipe, the pressure is equal to less than 125 psi gauge. A category 2 rural pipeline has a nominal diameter of 8 5/8 of an inch, located with 1/2 mile with the unusual sensitive area defined in 195.6 and operates at the maximum pressure established in 195.406 corresponding to stress level equal or lesser than 20% of the specific minimum yield strength of the line of the pipe. B. If the stress level is unknown, the pipeline is constructed with a seal pipe with the pressure equal to less than 125 psi gauge. Category 3 rural stress pipeline, the nominal diameter, any sub not located within 1/2 mile with the unusual sensitive area defined in 195.6, operated with the maximum pressure established in 195.406, corresponding stress level equal or less than 20% of the specific minimum yielded strength of the line of the pipe. If the stress is unknown, but the pipeline is constructed with a seal pipe pressure equal or less than 125 psi gauge. Origin code admit 195.89.73, Federal Register 31634. June 6, 2008, last amendment 195.9676, Federal Register 25576, May 5th, 2011, interpretation, summary, advisory, and bulletin address. Federal Register, volume 76 of the issue, 87th Thursday with the May 5th, 2011, page 25579. Some of the commenters suggested that PHMS excluded the low stress carbon dioxide with the pipelines involved with the enhanced oil recovery and carbon capture towards the association note with the pipelines posed with a different risk of the petroleum pipeline. The release for the low stress CO2 pipeline would not require the cleanup that would be associated associated with the rule of the crude oil refined petroleum product pipeline with the new requirement of the CO2 line could have a chilling effect with the future investment of the Dutch pipelines. PHMSA notes that the factor would not relieve the comments of the phase one rule, even though the phase one rules over all rural low-stress CO2 pipelines. PHF has never proposed an exclusion. Also considered inappropriate to exclude the rural low-stress carbon dioxide pipeline for safety regulation while regulating the subject of the phase one final rule has incorporated with the suggestion exclusion of the final rule. Other reference material sources guidance information. A rural low stress pipeline meeting the criteria 195.12b must fall into one of three categories. Operators shall maintain at least all category 1, 2, and 3 rural low stress pipeline segments. Generally, an operator would not be cited with a failure to categorize the rural low stress pipeline. Instead, the operator would generally be cited with failing to perform activities required with the pipeline setting category. Example: the probable violation, inadequate procedure, fail to correct categorize all rural low stress pipeline meeting criteria 195.12b. Example: the evidence documentation operated rural low stress pipeline include the data relevant in establishing each line of segment pipeline category pipe diameter, operating pressure, etc. Maps of the operator rural low stress pipeline list of the category assigns to each of the rural low stress pipeline segment. Other special notations. All right, enforcement guidance, hazardous liquid integrity management, Title 49, 195, March 18, 2013. Code Section 195.12, Section titled What Requirements Apply to Low Stress Pipeline Rural Area. Applicable requirement: the deadline for the compliance operator must comply with the following, complying with the depending on the category of the pipeline, determining the criteria. B, an operator with the category 1 pipeline identify all of the segments of the pipeline meet with the criteria B1 of the section by before April 3, 2009. Being no later than January 3, 2009, complying with the reporting requirements of subpart B of identified in segments. IM requirements to establish a written program to comply with 195.452 before July 3, 2009. Ensure the integrity of the pipeline segment to continue to carry out the program and comply with 195.452. An operator make a technical determination 195.452A and move 1/2 mile buffer. Complete with a baseline assessment of the L segments of accordance with 195.452 with the July 3, 2015. Complete with at least 50% of the assessment beginning with a high-risk pipe before January 3, 2012. Comply all the safety other requirements of part except for the subpart H before July 3, 2009. Comply with the requirements of subpart H of the July 3, 2011. Operator category 2 pipeline and identify all of the pipeline meeting of the criteria B2 of the section before July 3, 2012. Beginning no later than January 3, 2009. Comply with the reporting requirements of Part B with identified IM established with written IM integrated management plan program that comply with 195.452 before October 1st, 2012. To ensure the integrity of pipelines to carry out such program compliance 195.452. Operator make a for the determination per 195.452 in lieu of the 1/2 mile buffer. Complete with a baseline assessment of all segments according with 195.452C with the October 1st, 2006. Complete at least 50% of the assessment beginning with a high-risk pipe before April 1st, 2014. Comply with all the safety requirements of part with except for the subparts H of the before October 1st, 2012. Comply with subpart H of the part before October 1st, 2004. Admit 195 and 8973 Federal Register 3163. June 3rd, 2008, original code, last amended amendment 195, 196, 76, Federal Register 25576, May 5th, 2011, interpretation, summary, advanced bulletin, notice and summaries, other references material, Federal Register, Volume 73, Issue 107, to Tuesday, June 3rd, 2008, page 3163. PHMSA also noted the final rule all allows the operator to analyze the pipeline to determine the segment that could affect the USA unified section area for the purpose of the applicant integrity management requirement that could affect the analysis result of the large of the small area with a 1/2 mile with a buffer. PHMS has done the integrity management inspection of the analysis with scrutiny of the adequate support of the technical justification, appropriate consideration risk factors, guidance, information. All the unified section areas defined in 195.6 of the most concerned with the segment identification process. The source of identified with the unified section area that defined in 195.6 must be documented. National Pipeline Mapping Service should be used as sort of identifying potential unified segment areas of the vicinity of the rural low stress pipeline operator will have to demonstrate whether the U.S. unified segment unified segment area within a 1/2 mile with a rural low stress pipeline operator must make the reasonable effort to area except the high risk segments. First of the category 1 and 2 rural low stress pipeline segment before the required date with the leading 50% of the assessment and the operator allowed with the take with the credit of the low risk pipeline segment with the mile with the assessing the high risk segment of the pipeline segment live with the USA boundary within a 1/2 mile buffer of the zone around unified segment area of the pipeline is subject to the requirements of 195.12. No provision analog is 195.452A, whereby the operator would exclude the pipeline segment within the geographical boundaries of the unified segment area and the integrated management requirements. 195.12C3B does not allow the operator to perform more detailed engineering analysis of the pipeline segment that could affect the unified segment area and use the result of the lieu of the half-mile buffer. The failure to identify Category 1, 2 rural low-stress pipeline segments by the required date should be enforced by the 195.12C1, and 195.452C2 respectively. Failure to have a written integrity management plan in Category 1 and 2 low-stress pipeline segments or by required date should be enforced again for the 195.12C1, 3A, 195.12C2, 3A, respectively. Failure to have a written integrity management plan in Category 1, 2 rural low-stress pipeline segment that meets the requirements of 195.452 should be enforced again for the applicable 195.452. Failure to implement the written integrity management plan according to the requirements of 195.452 should be enforced again to the applicable section 195.452. Failure to meet the schedule requirements of the 4 baseline assessment of the Category 1 and 2 low-stress pipeline segments should be enforced with the 195.12C1, 3C, 195.12C2, 3C, respectively. Example, the probable inadequate procedure. The failure to complete with the segment identification of Category 1 rural low-stress pipeline with the April 3rd, 2009. Failure to set the written program in Category 1 rural low-stress pipeline segment to comply with 195.54.52 before July 3rd, 2009. Failure to complete with the baseline assessment of at least 50% of the category of the rural low-stress pipeline segment before January 3rd, 2012. Failure to complete with the baseline assessment of the Category 1 rural low-stress pipeline segment of July 3rd, 2015. Failure to complete with the segment identification of the Category 2 rural low-stress pipelines before July 1st, 2012. The establish a written program to Category 2 rural low-stress pipeline segment to comply with 195.450 before October 1st, 2012. Failure to complete with the baseline segment at least 50% of the Category 2 rural low-stress pipeline segment before April 1st, 2014. Failure to complete the baseline assessment of the Category 2 rural low-stress pipeline segment before October 1st, 2016. Baseline assessment Category 1 and 2 rural low-stress pipeline did begin with the highest risk pipe. Example, the evidence portion of written integrity management shows the mission deficiency. Document 2, the documentation show the written integrity management was not properly implemented. 3, the date of the copy of the segment identification Category 1, 2 rural low-stress pipeline segment, the date of the copy of the written integrity management program of the Category 1, 2 rural low-stress pipeline segment, the baseline assessment plan, risk analysis Category 1, 2 rural low-stress pipeline segment with the risk ranking each of the rural low-stress pipeline segment, completion and schedule of the baseline assessment before January 3rd, 2012, the Category 1 rural low-stress pipeline segment with the completion and schedule of the baseline assessment before July 3rd, 2015 with the Category 1 rural low-stress pipeline segments. Category completion schedule baseline assessment performed October 1st, 2014 with the Category 2 rural low-stress pipeline segment. The completion schedule of the baseline assessment performed October 1st, 2016 for the category of the rural low-stress pipeline segment and other special notations. Alright, enforcement guideline hazard and liquid integrity management, Title 49 CFR 192, revision date March 18, 2013. Code 195.12D. What are the requirements apply to low-stress pipeline rural areas? Economic compliance with the burden of operation PHMSA and according to 195.450 in the situation meeting with the following criteria: existing code language. Pipeline with a Category 1 rural low-stress pipeline carries crude oil from the production facility. Pipeline when an option operates the flow rate less than equal to 14,000 barrels per day. The operator determines it would be the shutdown of the pipeline as a result of the economic burden comply with the assessment requirements 195.452D or 195.452J. An application submitted with the provisions must include the minimum of the following information with the pipeline is operating with maintenance and leak history. Estimated cost for the company, cost to comply, integrity assessment requirement for the brief description of the base of the estimated amount of the production, effective wells per year, which the wells will be shut down, alternate transportation will be used, estimated cost to do so with the operating with the PHMS accordance with the paragraph of the D1 and with the section PHMS state the compliance 195.452, 195.452J3 to complete the analysis of information. PHMS must consult with the Department of Energy appropriate to help analyze the potential engineering impact loss of the pipeline. Based on analysis, PHMSA may agree that they operate with a special permit to level the continued operation of the pipeline segment the alternate safety requirements. Original Code Amendment 195.89, 73 to Federal Register 31634, June 3rd, 2008. Last amendment 195.9676, Federal Register 25576, May 5th, 2011. Interpretation summaries and advisory bulletin are alert notices and other material sources. Guide information. The paragraph of the rules operated with the notify the PHMS believe that the complying with the assessment requirement of 195.452, 195.452J for the category 1 low-stress line representative of the economic burden because of the paragraph when informed of the operator how and under the circumstances must apply with relief that not expected with the enforcement actions written against the paragraph. Example: probable violation, inadequate procedure. For example, the evidence of other special notations. Hazardous liquid integrity management, Title 49 CFR 195. Revision date through March 18th, 2013. Code Section 195.12E. What are the requirements apply with low-stress pipeline rural areas? Change unusual sensitivity. Existing code language 1 after January 3rd, 2008. The Category 1 rural low-stress pipelines, October 1st, 2011. The Category 2 rural low-stress pipelines, and operative identified with the unified segment area of the segment of the pipeline to meet the criteria of paragraph D of the section. Category 1-2 rural low stress pipeline. The operator must comply with the integrated management program requirement of paragraph C1-3A or C2-3A of the section is appropriately within 12 months of the following date of the area identified with regardless of the prior categorization of the pipeline. Through 2, complete the baseline assessment required in paragraph C1-3C or C2-3C of the section appropriated according with the schedule in 195-452-D3. If the changes of the boundary unified segment area cover the category 1, category 2 pipeline segment can no longer be within 1/2 mile of the unified segment area, the operator must continue to comply with the paragraph C1-2 and C2-3 of the section applicable with respect to the segment unless the operator determined the release of the pipeline could not affect the unified segment area. Origin of the Code Amendment of 195-89-73, Federal Register 31634, June 3rd, 2018. Last amendment, 195-96-76, Federal Register 25576, May 5th, 2011. Interpretations on advanced bulletin alert notices and summaries. Office of the other reference of the material source for the guided information. A unified segment area of the previously existed during the initial segment, the identification period cannot be considerably unified unified segment area. 2. Categorizing a unified segment area with exists within the initial segment identification performed the newly identified unified segment area should be enforced against the 195-12C11 and 195C21 respectively. 3. Failure to incorporate newly identified with the unified segment area with the integrity management plan 12 months. Failure to perform baseline assessment within 5 years should be enforced with the 195-452. Failure to meet the 195-452 section requirements of the inclusion of newly the unified segment area that should be enforced against the applicable section of the category 195-452. Example, the probable violation adequate procedure failure to include the unified segment area to newly identified the June 3rd, 2008, the category 1 rural low stress pipeline segment integrity management program with the 12 months following when the date of the area identified. 2. Failure to include the unified segment area of the newly identified after the October 1st, 2011, the category 2 rural low stress pipeline segment integrity management program with the 12 months following the date of identified. Failure to perform the baseline except for the newly identified category 1-2 rural low stress pipeline segment within 5 years of the date of the error is identified. Failure to comply with the 195-12C13 and 195-12C23 pipeline segment that previously defined as defect the unified segment area of the determined boundary is more than 1/2 mile of the pipeline segment that would have the demonstrated the relief of the pipeline segment that could not affect unified segment area. Note refer to 195-12C for the enforcement guidelines. Example, the evidence documentation may have shown the identified the unified segment area. Identification source for the newly identified unified segment area. Source for the documentation used by the original segment identification process. The application report for the integrity management plan showing admissions of the deficiency incorporated newly identified unified segment area. Documentation analyzing piping segment no longer with a 1/2 mile of the unified segment cannot affect the unified segment. Other special notations. Hydro liquid integrity management, Title 49 CFR 195, March 18, 2013, Code Section 195-12F. What are the requirements of low stress pipeline in rural areas? Existing code language of record retention operative that must maintain the records to demonstrate the compliance with each of the requirements of applicable category pipeline according to the following schedule. Operator must maintain the segment identification records as required for the paragraph C11, C21, C31 section of the life of the pipe. Except for the segment identification record for the operator must maintain the records necessary to demonstrate the compliance with the applicable requirements set forth in paragraph C of the section according to the record retention requirements of the reference section and subpart originate Code of the Amendment 195-89, Title 73-3163 for June 3rd, 2008. Last Amendment 195-96-76, Federal Register 25576, May 5th, 2011. Interpretation summary of the advisory bulletin alert notice and some of the other reference material guide and source of the guide and information deficiencies. The maintain the segment identification record should be enforced the 195-1201, 12F1. Deficiency of the emission of the maintained written integrity management program documentation supporting decision and analysis made within implement the evaluate element of the integrity management program should be before with the 195-452-1. Although the appendix C of the guidance material, the example of the appendix C4 must be maintained. Deficiency maintained these records would be enforced with the 195-451. 452-1. Example of the probable violation adequate procedure failure to maintain segment identification record to give enforcement at 195-12F1. Failure to maintain written integrity management plan. Failure to maintain documented support of the decision analysis made with the implement evaluate with the element of the integrity management program. Failure to maintain the records identified in appendix C4. Example, the evidence documentation showing the deficiency emission of the maintained records required within 195-12F, the 195-452-1, and appendix C. Other special notations. All right, Hazardous liquid integrity management program, Title 49 CFR 195, March 18, 2003. Code Section 195-450, Section Definition, following the definition applied with the Section 195-450, emergency flow of a restriction device, or EFRD, which means the check valve of the remote control valve as follows. Check valve means the valve that permits with the flow freely in one direction containing the mechanism automatically prevent the flow in the other direction. Remote control valve, the RCV means any valve with the operated with a location remote where the valve is installed. The remote control valve is usually operated with a supervisor control with the data acquisition system linkage between the pipeline control with the remote control valve, maybe the fiber optic microwave with the telephone line satellite. High consequence area means commercial navigable waters means water where with a substantial liquid over the commercial navigation exists. In a high population area with the urbanized area with the defined with the delineated with the Census Bureau contains 50,000 people or more ahead of the population density of 1,000 per 1,000 people per square mile. Other populated area, which means the places of the identified delineated with the Census Bureau that contains concentrated population as unincorporated, incorporated with the city, town, village, or other designated residential commercial area. An unusual sensitive area is 195.6A, Title 1, Original Code 195.70.65, Federal Register 75378, December 1st, 2016. Last amended interpretation summaries and advisory bulletin alert with the notice summary date is January 22nd, 2013. 2003 advisory bulletin update the digital mapping data with the hazardous liquid pipeline has a consequent area. Pipeline had provided the notice of the date with a high consequent area with the digital mapping base with the use of the government data with the data set available to download with high population area. Other populated areas, commercial navigable waters operators were allowed 1 year with the date of the bulletin incorporated with the new high consequent area in the baseline integrity management assessment plan. Other reference material and the Federal Register, Volume 65, Number 232, Federal Varieties, December 1st, 2000. The rules of the regulation, page 75392. Pipeline Hazardous Liquid Integrity Management and Frequency Act. Question 14. What is the high consequence area? What is an unusual sensitive area? Guidance information 195.450 provided the list of the definition of the Integrated Management Program 195.452. Other definition 195.2. 195.6 are also applicable. The amendment themselves the definition do not impose additional requirements for the operator for the reason of the violation. 195.450 should not be expected. The definition of the provided the established geographical location, high consequent area is for the operators to identify the portion of the pipeline that can impact the area of those portions of the pipeline with the from which 195.452 will allow the operator freely to identify the high consequent area outside of the area specified in 195.450. However, the program must include all of the high consequence areas defined in 195.450. If they are provided technical justification, the pipeline cannot impact with a high consequent area. The preamble, the final rule of the operational pipeline system, provided with the maps over the high consequence area of the National Pipeline Management System. Federal Register, Volume 65, Number 232, Friday, December 1st, 2000. Rules and Regulations 75. 392, but they all inform the operator some of the information of the operating pipeline system, the purchasing of the description of the ecological data of the National Conservancy and other sources of the public available. The operator may need to contact the resource of the agency's additional information, particular specified species or drinking water intake. The ununified what is that? The ununified defined segment area of the preamble that tells the operator with the operational petroleum systems. National Water with the Network database identify the commercial navigable water. The commercial navigable waterway map the database with available through the National Pipeline Segment of the Bureau of Transportation. Statistics all they have the database include with the commercial with the navigable waters. The non-commercial navigable water database can be downloaded. BTS website at bts.gov at GIS/networks/HTML. Low stress pipeline rural areas could affect the unified segment area are also subject to 195.452 requirements 195.12 to define the low stress pipeline. Subject 195.452 today with the pipeline must include the integrated management program, so portion include 195.12 of the section with the EFRD's valves were referred to 195.452.1. Example of probable violation inadequate perceived the depending on the circumstances. Some of the example lifted the section may be the inadequate with the receiver the non-probable violations. Thus, the enforcement tool address the issue would be notice amendment, not non-probable violation warning later. Section 3 enforcement provided the provide guidelines selecting the appropriate enforcement action. Example: the evidence of the integrity management program or plan or program applicable portion show the emission of the deficiency of plan or program, record the leading deficiency or emission of the high consequence area EFRDs and documentation conservation. Operated with the contract personnel to identify the inconsistent regarding the definition listed below. Other special notations are present to the integrated management regulation of the assessment limited to the line pipe, the remediation of all pipe, the properly mediated with additional definition non-line pipe, the type of the other facility not covered under the assessment portion of the regulation. Hazardous Liquid Integrated Management Part 195, March 18th, 2013, 195.452A, Pipeline Integrity Management, High Consequence Area. Existing code language, what is the pipeline covered in the section? Section applied with each of the hazardous liquid pipeline. Carbon dioxide pipeline with good effect of the high consequence area include with any of the pipeline located in high consequence area unless the operator with effectively demonstrate the risk assessment that the pipeline could not affect the area appendix C of the part for the provided guidance to determine if the pipeline could affect the high consequent area. Cover the pipeline categories as follows. Category 1 included the pipeline existing May 29, 2001 that were owned and operated by the operator owned with the operated total of 5,500 or more miles of the pipeline subject for this part. The category including the pipeline existed May 29, 2011 wherever the owner operated by the operator owned with the operator less than 500 miles pipeline subject for this part. Category 3 includes pipeline construction converted with the May 29, 2001 or origination code 19570 Title 65 CFR Federal Registry 75378 December 1st 2000. Last amendment 19576A 67 and Federal Register 46911 July 17th 2002. Interpretation Summary Advisory Bulletin Alert Notice Summaries Other Materials Sources API 1160 of the Mapping Managing System Integrity with the Hazard Liquid Pipeline latest edition. Pipeline Hazard Material Liquid Integrity Management Special Supplemental Guidance Segment Identification 1 the Appendix C1 identifying the high consequence area factors of the considering pipeline type with the potential impact with the high consequence area. Federal Register of the volume 65 the number 232 December 2000 rules and regulation page 7538 and 389. Pipe HMS highlighter liquid integrity management frequently asked question high consequence areas. What are the purpose of the training appendix rather than place of the material and regulation? 2.1 does the rule apply to more than line pipe, whatever category 1, 2 under the low stress pipeline rule areas 1 in statute 195.12. Does the requirements for the rule apply to idle pipe? Does the rule apply with the offshore pipeline? 2.5 what meant with the operator owned with the operates total of 500 more pipelines than 195.452A. Operator with a small pipeline is partially owned with another company with a reasonable preparing with a baseline assessment plan and complying with the provisions of the rule. Operator with a company with a partner name. The company 2.7 the company requires the additional pipeline lay of the 2001 increase the total of mileage over 500 per the covered by this rule at the complying with the deadline as the same are the complying with the deadlines the same. If the pipeline subject 195.450 sold with the new operator would inherit with the integrity management plan deadline with the original operator. 210 would it be held accountable in implementing integrity management requirement that can give the operational transfer of ownership of the pipeline and separate another copy of the retained responsibility by contract for the maintenance of the integrity management activities until some later date. If 211 if the pipeline transport both the gas and liquid some offshore line that does has the liquid integrity management plan rule apply to the gas integrity management rule apply. And 212 the rule apply with the operator marketing facility if the operator does not know of the operator with the pipeline that rather the received delivers hazardous liquid form and third-party pipelines. Guidance information 195.452A primarily with the applicability of integrated management. This paragraph establishes the pipeline which could be affected by the high consequence areas, subject to the requirements of the remaining paragraph 192.452 with the define of the category of the different deadline with the established subsequent paragraph 195.452 identify the requirements deadlines apply with these category. Pipe 2 195.452A should be generally within outside with the inadequacy deficiency of the operator approach to identify the pipelines if they could affect the high consequence area and there with 195.452.51 specified by the operator with the process of the identify with the pipelines in the high consequent area with the deficiencies in the process of the identification pipeline set that could affect the high consequent areas generally cited with the 195.452 F1. 3. Operator does not identify the segment that could affect the high consequent areas should be generally cited in 195.452 B2. 195.452 A is the operator can exclude the pipeline segment over the high consequent area being subject to the integrated management program requirements of the operator can demonstrate the risk accepted by the pipeline could affect the high consequent area with the practice of the normally done. The analysis is reasonable to demonstrate that the high consequent area would not affect the pipeline release. Carbon dioxide release would not impact the nearby water. Selected final order reference 195.452A. Phillips 66 Transportation Company, June 23rd, 2003. The operator of the HVL pipeline with a segment of the intersect with the drinking water high consequent area that identified with the segment that could affect the high consequent area. Operator to serve the lines within that could impact the high consequent area that provided with no technical justification to justify the determination. Alright. Your Idaho Pipeline Corporation, December 5th, 2008. The operator failed to identify the pipeline could impact the high consequent area that did not demonstrate for the risk assessment of the line could affect the high consequent area. Our example of the probable violation inadequate perceived the failure to affect the demonstration of the risk assessment other technical justification of the line segment of the high consequent area could not affect the areas of the failure to provide the adequate justification category of exclusion potential of the HVL for the release of the drinking water with the ecological unified segment area. The failure to include the idle pipe of the integrity management justifying that the pipe could not affect the high consequent area. Depending on the circumstance, some of the example listed consists section may be the inadequate plans perceived the non-probable violation of the enforcement tool observe these issue notice of the amendment not in the notice probable violation warning letter section 3 enforcement procedure provided the guidelines select appropriate enforcement action. For example, the Evidence Integrity Management Plan program and applicable portion show the omission of the deficiencies of the plan program, documentation, conservation, operated with the contract person will identify the inconsistency of the program regarding assessing the included integrity management program in the pipe category. Definition 3 maps over the record depicting assets included the integrity management program, other special notations, and we're going to cut the tape there unless it goes. And that so we're on page 24.